Indian voters are now really coming out and talking about whether elections in India are being conducted in a free and fair manner by the Election Commission.
If a government is formed on the basis of a faulty, compromised voters list, then that should go. The Lok Sabha should go and the government should go. That when such serious allegations, such serious charges, such serious questions were raised, why doesn't the Election Commission respond to them? Why can't the Election Commission put these doubts at rest? Questions are raised about the integrity of the process and the autonomy and independence and impartiality of the Election Commission. Why is the BJP answering?
We have a government and a Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, who never tires of talking about digital vision, India's digital vision, India arriving on the global digital map. And the most fundamental thing, which is a digital electoral list, they are blocking.
Election Commission did not defend itself. It was the BJP who said, which went on saying that the law doesn't require. The point is that, as a political party, you should also say that the Election Commission should be transparent, so that your victory will be on a firmer footing, isn't it? Now there are doubts cast on your victory.
Hello and welcome to this discussion on The Wire on a subject which is exercising the nation at large. Indian voters are now really coming out and talking about whether elections in India are being conducted in a free and fair manner by the Election Commission. And not that the suspicion was not there earlier. This has been talked about after different elections, whether it was Maharashtra earlier, Haryana, whether it was during the Lok Sabha. There was suspicion that in some states, election results seem to have defied expectations, or seem to have been counterintuitive, if that is the right word. But no evidence real evidence had come forth. But there was some half-baked kind of data which was telling us that things were not really right. So but in the last 1 week or last 10 days, the Election Commission has again become the eye of the storm, and it is under severe scrutiny. Under scrutiny by the Supreme Court. As we all know, the Supreme Court gave an interim order which is like a pushback to the Election Commission, telling the Election Commission that you have to do certain things for transparency. Opposition MPs jumping over barricades to demand transparency by the Election Commission and a fair approach on the part of the Election Commission, a non-partisan approach. And of course, Rahul Gandhi presenting documentary evidence about Karnataka election, one constituency, Mahadevapura, where through data, he demonstrated how over 1 lakh voters were either fake, or they were coming from wrong addresses, or they were new voters in the age group of 50 to 90, very suspicious. So today we thought we'll discuss all this, and we've called to our studio Prabhakar Parkala, a political economist, and who's been writing for The Wire, writing elsewhere, who's been speaking around the country about electoral malpractices, and we got Prabhakar because he was among the very few, who after the 2024 Lok Sabha elections raised this suspicion whether elections in many places were stolen. Since Prabhakar has done a lot of research himself in this whole area, and he's written so much, both for The Wire and other publications. So we thought we will get Parkala Prabhakar to tell us, talk about this issue. Welcome to the Wire, Parkala. You're coming to the Wire videos after some time. So please tell us, how do you see what is going on in Bihar, the special intensive revision by the Election Commission, creating chaos, complete chaos in that state, and how do you read that in conjunction with what Rahul Gandhi has revealed in Mahadevapura, and which now many other MPs are talking about, coming out with their suspicions in their constituency in the 2024 Lok Sabha election, and people in general also now coming out much more openly and talking about this. And to top it all, Prabhakar, we had the Supreme Court. I mean, the timing is very interesting. Supreme Court asked for a total recounting of a panchayat election EVM, and the results got reversed. Now, I don't know whether you could call this a perfect storm, but please tell us, how do you view all this? Yeah.
Thank you, Venu, for having me once again. As you said, the many of us who have been raising this issue about the integrity of the electoral process in our country. One thing one must note here is that people like us, we are not concerned about who wins. Anybody can win, provided the process is watertight, it has integrity. I go and cast my vote. I want my vote to be recorded as I cast,
Yeah.
and I want my vote to be counted as recorded. In this chain, there is a problem. And, we have been raising it immediately after the 2024 general election. Especially, please take a look at, the reports by the Vote for Democracy group, even, ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms. They've all come out in their own perspectives and with a little variance in their findings. But there were very substantial questions raised about the integrity of the Election Commission and the election process.
Sure.
This is number one. Number two, when we are talking about the integrity of the electoral process, and as I said, we do not care who wins or who loses. I may not like a particular political party, or you may not like a particular political party, but if that particular political party or that particular political persuasion had been able to convince the people and get the mandate in a right manner, we have no problem. And if I differ, probably I'll fight that politically. But you see, if the electoral process is compromised, and with the compromised electoral process, if a political party or a political persuasion is winning, how do you fight that? And how do you call that a democracy? This is number one. And then why did we say? And you see, let me for this particular discussion, let me rely mostly on the data that was given out by the VFD report, Vote for Democracy report. And I must say, the VFD report was authored, researched by people with unimpeachable credentials.
Yeah.
Mr. M.G. Devsahayam, a former bureaucrat, and who has conducted a lot of elections, and Professor Harish Karnik and Professor
Yeah.
Pyarlal Garg. They are of unimpeachable credentials. They have come out with a conclusion that 79 Lok Sabha seats were compromised.
Yeah.
And over about, say, 5 crore votes were injected into the system.
Yeah.
And they have come to this kind of conclusion on the basis of the Election Commission data.
Yeah.
Well, all this is in the public domain. People like us, we have discussed it, but
Yeah.
it has got the kind of traction that you see in the last 1 week, as you said. That is
Yeah, you're right. At that time, it didn't get the kind of traction that last 1 week
That's
has
that's right. That's right.
brought. Yeah,
The kind of amplification the issue has received after Mr. Rahul Gandhi has conducted his press conference on the 7th
yeah,
is enormous. That is why we have been trying to persuade political parties to take this up. Well, I do not know, for some reason political parties hesitated, and now, of course, we're all happy that now it is at least being in the public domain. People are discussing. People are agitated about it. Now,
yeah,
you see, why did we suspect that there was some kind of an insult uh, to the electoral integrity, the process of electoral integrity, is
yeah,
because the way the election commission is appointed there initially, that itself raises a lot of questions. To start with, the role of the Supreme Court Chief Justice is eliminated. The government has a majority in the committee. The leader of the opposition is just there, and he was not given the data or the details of people who are being shortlisted in time, and all that kind of a thing. All that,
yeah,
and therefore, in effect, it becomes the appointment of the government. In other words, election commission probably had become something like a government department.
yeah,
And you see, and even then, we should not suspect the election commissioners, because just because they were appointed by the government doesn't mean that they have to toe the line of the government. But like Session was appointed by the government, but look at the fierceness with which he defended the integrity and the autonomy and the independence of the election commission. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. That is borne out by the lack of the level playing field, how the major opposition parties' bank accounts were frozen,
yeah,
how the model code of conduct was not implemented by the election commission, and how repeated gross violations of the model code of conduct, especially with regard to hate speech, were tolerated by the election commission.
yeah,
Now, keep that aside.
yeah,
Then what happened was that mysteriously polls closed and there was a tentative data. And late night, you see a huge hike of the final figures. Now,
you mean the figures counted? Yeah,
that's right, yeah, and
yeah,
they are the ones which are counted.
yeah.
And you see, it happened in several states, and ranging from 4% to 12.558%.
Here,
12.5,
Patla, here. Let me just add one data point here.
yeah,
Very, very critical. Just adding to what you're saying. Naveen Patnaik's party wrote to the Election Commission last December, pointing out they also took 6 months, like Rahul Gandhi, to study the vote patterns. And they pointed out very clearly to the Election Commission that after the final polling figure determined at night, after 11 o'clock, midnight, at that point and between counting, they said there was a gap of 15 to 30% in Odisha.
yeah.
Can you imagine? Yeah. So
In some
now I'm saying
constituencies,
it supports what you're saying, and the
exactly.
election commission has not responded to Orissa BJD till date, and whereas you can't even claim that BJD is as adversarial to BJP as Congress or other parties. I'm just putting this in context. Yeah.
Exactly. You see, there are cases where, for instance, Andhra Pradesh, the hike was 12.54%. Odisha, or average. I mean, some constituencies it's more, some constituencies it's less, as you said.
You mean
But
between final polling figure and counting? You're saying, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Odisha, it was 12.48%. And in some states it was 4%, some states it was 5%, 6%, 8%, 9%. You
Yeah.
know, 0.5% or 0.2% makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Very much. But that is the kind of thing. And you see, and when that kind of a hike happened, it largely benefited the BJP or the
True.
NDA.
Yeah.
No, that is why hypothetically you can link these two, and it has to be examined. Now, the point is that when such serious allegations, such serious charges, such serious questions were raised, why doesn't the election commission respond to them? Why can't the election commission put these
Exactly.
doubts at rest by saying, look, this is what it is? Now, there's
So,
one more
so
thing
yeah,
that
yeah, absolutely. So, Parkala, now you've hit the nail on the head. Why is the election commission not responding? Its first duty as a constitutional body overseeing free and fair elections, ostensibly, is to respond to such issues, complaints of the opposition or from citizens. Uh, so they have not responded on this so far. This huge gap between end of the you know uh, votes polled, that is at determined at night, and votes counted. And here I must add, Parkala, that former Chief Election Commissioner Mr. Qureshi, he he's on record. He's told the Wire also. He told other channels that such huge gaps never occurred during his period. They had the same system. They had the same EVMs. They had the same resources. Now, in the last 1 week, now coming to the last say 10 days, Parkala, this election commission's non-responsive approach uh, has received a severe setback because the Supreme Court told the election commission that you have to put out the list of 65 lakhs people who are going to be deleted from the Bihar voters list. And Supreme Court has also told them to add Aadhaar as an important document for people to identify their to give their identity to be on the voters list. Now, these two important decisions are a pushback because the election commission was refusing to do that. Now we are it's now falling upon the Supreme Court to make the election commission respond. And on the Rahul Gandhi thing, the election commission's response was even more shocking. They were asking Rahul Gandhi to prove his credentials by sign an affidavit, basically asking a whistleblower to sign an affidavit. So how do you see things playing out from here? How do we make the election commission, uh, responsive, and which is its duty, but it's not doing so? Should the opposition now uh, have a full agitation program around the country? I'm told that at least Congress and RJD are going to have an Adhikar Yatra in Bihar. Some people have talked about, RJD has also talked about boycotting election. How do you deal with this politically? I just want a sense from you.
yeah, Venu, let's understand this. Election and election process is not a game merely between or among political parties and the Election Commission of India. It is for people like you and me, the common citizens, isn't it? We
Citizens are
also
also
are
exercised about it. Yeah.
exercised. So if anybody tries to portray this as BJP versus Congress or NDA versus India alliance, that's wrong. It has to be accountable to the people, not necessarily just the political parties. One.
So basically,
The second
people
thing
should
is
fight this fight. You're saying.
exactly. Of course, political parties because of their resources, manpower, organization. It's because it has to be organization, etc. They could take the lead, but then it has to be a people's movement. It is not fighting for, oh, I have to win and you won. It's not that. We don't care who wins, but the process has to be absolutely unimpeachable. This is one. The second thing, Venu, about the Supreme Court. I mean, it's really heartening that Supreme Court has asked the Election Commission to come clean and publish the list, and also tell why those people were excluded from the voters list. But then over the last few months, especially looking at you know uh, the issues that have gone to the Supreme Court of India with regard to the elections and election process, etc., starting from the electoral bonds,
Yeah.
the way it was delayed and all that. I I'm not very hopeful. The hopes are a little bit up now, all right,
Hmm.
but I'm not completely optimistic. Well, it is definitely it is a boost now. We have got a shot in the arm kind of a thing.
Yeah.
When Supreme Court asked for the names to be published and reasons to be published, all right. But then what would be the ultimate outcome that has to be watched? We do not know. That's one.
Yeah.
The second thing is, whenever questions are raised about the integrity of the process and the autonomy and independence and impartiality of the election commission, why is the BJP answering?
Yeah.
Why is the ruling party answering? You see, I remember it started when political parties have talked about the 17C, Form 17C.
Yeah.
When you see, it's been always the practice that 17C is available to everybody.
Yeah.
Now, when the Election Commission of India decided not to make 17C public, that is 17C is, at the end of the polling, the agents sign a paper and say these many votes were polled, countersigned by the polling officer.
Yeah.
When that was, the Election Commission refused to place that in public domain, when questions were raised, Election Commission did not defend itself. It was the BJP who said, which went on saying that the law doesn't require. The point is that, as a political party, you should also say that the election commission should be transparent, because so that your victory will be on a firmer footing, isn't it? Now there are doubts cast on your victory. Why don't you
Yeah.
say that, look, we won it with a completely watertight, unimpeachable electoral process? Is the result of as a result of that is our victory? Why
So
don't you say that? Why can't
you're
you?
suggesting that the government should, Prime Minister Modi should come upfront and say this. That's what you're
Absolutely,
suggesting.
absolutely. You see,
But
why
that's a
can't
very tall ask anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
no? But you see, anybody who is a Democrat
Yeah.
would want that.
That's a big assumption,
One,
Parkala.
yeah. I mean, we
you
know
know.
all that, but you see,
Yeah.
we are a democracy,
Yeah.
and at least formally, still we continue to be a democracy. We should have that. That's one. The second thing is that the election commission uh, dodging not only dodging the answers, but repeatedly, time and again, submitting affidavits to the Supreme Court of India, which are based on wrong data, wrong reasoning, wrong logic, and also contrary to the provisions of the Act and their different clauses. And all of a sudden, without much notice, without any discussion, changing the rules of the game. For instance, about Haryana, the Mr. Pracha had gone to the High Court, and High Court had asked the Election Commission to make the video recordings and the other records public, available to him.
Yeah.
And within a couple of days, there was a gazette notification empowering the Election Commission to withhold that
So this
information.
is yeah.
Why?
So
Why?
this is so this Parkala, you're right. So this makes the government's intention very clear that the government
Yeah,
is fully with the election commission in blocking
correct. Yeah,
supply of necessary information to the citizens, even to the opposition parties, which is the reason why the Supreme Court had to push in the Bihar case. Initially, election commission said that they're not obliged to publish the list, right?
yeah.
Earlier, election commission has 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 refused to even release the digital list.
Yeah.
They're not
Readable
releasing
form.
the digital list, Parkala, because they know that the moment they allow release of digital list, as Rahul Gandhi said, what they did in 6 months, the analysis they would do it in 48 hours, as Rahul Gandhi said. Now, so here is
No,
a
it
here is a big
should
question.
be machine readable, isn't it?
Here is a big question. We have a government and a prime minister, Narendra Modi, who never tires of talking about digital vision, India's digital vision, India arriving on the global digital map. And the most fundamental thing, which is a digital electoral list, they are not they are blocking from the citizens, for scrutiny of citizens, opposition parties, particularly citizens. And there are many NGOs which have gone to court saying, why aren't these lists being made available? Why aren't CCTV footage being made available? So Election Commission in the last, after 2024 elections, you're right, has been constantly blocking all these normal procedures, which the earlier CECs have, in fact, Mr. Rawat came on wire 3 days ago. He said these are things which should be normally be done, which they used to do. And Mr. Rawat also said that what Rahul Gandhi did in Karnataka, a similar exercise was done during his time in Hyderabad. The Election Commission Telangana immediately went with the opposition parties and tried to see what was wrong. So that enhanced the credibility of the commission. But everything is in reverse gear these days. So the government is also helping Election Commission block information to the citizenry. Now, how do you deal with this? This is a real problem, right?
You see, Venu, I would like to make a couple of more points also, but immediately coming to the last question that you posed, unless there is a mass movement with feet on the ground kind of an agitation, questioning, and making the election commission accountable, not the government, election commission. But when the election commission is asked questions, why is the government and the ruling party coming into it? In fact, the ruling party is like any other political party. Ruling party also should join these people, the other political parties, and say, look, we also want, for instance, the ruling party minister, MP, somebody had said, there are other constituencies also which are won by the opposition, which also has fake voters or duplicate voters, or with zero house number and things like that. If that is the case, they should also ask for a thorough probe. Isn't it?
So Parkala, I just want to add something here. The Congress party has welcomed the BJP's data, which of course they got on Amethi, etc. In fact, the Congress party has formally said that all these things should be studied, reviewed, and there should be a cleanup of the voters list. I think that's the opposition there has taken the right position. In fact, probably BJP was surprised when they said that all such new data or new findings or new documentation like Rahul Gandhi has done, if they are doing it in Amethi or doing it in other constituencies, they are welcome. So in a way, it's a good from the citizens' point of view, as you said, citizens should get involved. It's a good trend that the opposition is now looking at this in a much broader kind of sense. It's not you versus me, BJP versus Congress. If Congress is welcoming something like this, where Rahul Gandhi
Venu, at this point,
so be it. Yeah.
At this point, let me say this. Leave the political parties aside. As a citizen, what I feel? If the BJP and the ruling party says that there are irregularities, if the main opposition party, and some other opposition parties also say that, and people like us from the civil society, from ADR, VFD, and so many other people, people have gone to the Supreme Court, advocates, transparency activists, and a lot of people have been saying this. Forget about all that. Elections earlier. Because somebody says that this happened in 70 also, 80 also, 85 also. It doesn't matter. It is happening now. You agree that it is happening now. So the point is this, Venu. The point is that as a citizen, what I feel is that if this is the kind of voters list on the basis of which this Lok Sabha is elected, this Lok Sabha should go. And if the government that is established from this Lok Sabha, which was elected on the basis of a faulty, manipulated voters list. Whoever did, I mean, it could have been opposition party, it could have been local people, it could have been the ruling party, it could have been somebody else. Even if it is some alien had done it. But the point is, if a government is formed on the basis of a faulty, compromised voters list, then that should go. The Lok Sabha should go, and the government should go. And I think there has to be a huge pressure from the people that a complete cleanup of the electoral process,
Yeah,
complete cleanup of the electoral list, voters list, on the basis of whoever wins. I don't care.
yeah. No, no,
A-
you're
a- a-
absolutely right. Yeah, yeah.
if that is not the case, what is the point in BJP fighting election, or Congress fighting election, or RJD fighting election, or SP fighting election, or TDP fighting election, or DMK fighting election, if the voters list is not pure, not faultless, not flawless, if it is compromised, if it is manipulated, why are we fighting these elections at all?
Here, Parkala, you made a very very important point here. And as far as the argument that such things used to happen earlier, 20 years ago, and now there is a new perspective here also, which Yogendra Yadav brought out. He said that the documentation of Mahadevapura constituency that Rahul Gandhi showed, it showed the scale of duplicate votes, votes from fake addresses, zero addresses, uh, uh, you know, votes from new voters in the age group of 70, 80, 90. These are now, Parkala, these are now 15 to 20% of the total, votes. The scale of contamination, if that is the right word, of the voters list, fake voters, everything put together, it is now so high that we come back to the point you're raising. This has to be now done across the board. For instance, in Maharashtra election, which of course, which the opposition pointed out that the adult population, the number of votes polled was way more than the adult population. So obviously there's a lot of contamination voters list, a lot of fake votes, a lot of as Mahadevapura, Karnataka showed, votes from zero addresses, fake addresses, etc. So now it's time that do you think it's time the election commission and all the parties sit together and say, okay, let's clean up the voters list, not in the way that Bihar exercise is being done. There the intentions are very very suspicious, right? They are going to citizenship and all, but simple thing like
That Bihar, Venu, is not a cleanup, it's a cleansing.
yeah, it's a cleansing. So you're
Cleansing.
now it's a good thing you pointed out. So should we go for a bipartisan consensus? Go for a cleanup, not cleansing, because it is now very clear, as Biju Janata Dal also pointed out in their petition to the election commission, that 15 to 30% increase in the number of votes at the time of counting, as opposed to end of day polling figures, that is midnight polling figures. There is definitely something wrong, because Biju Janata Dal pointed out that in all previous elections, this number never used to be more than 1 or 2%. Now,
going back to Venu, going back
let
to
me complete,
the
Parkala. This shows that massive contamination, massive new additions, fake voters. I think there is a need for a all India cleanup. Would you agree with that?
yeah. Yes, absolutely. You see, let me go back to the point that you've raised about, traditionally, what was the variation between, the provisional figure and the final figure? Traditionally, the discrepancy between the provisional figure and the final figure has never been more than 1% maximum. 1%.
This is what Qureshi, former chief election
Yes,
commissioner Qureshi
Dr.
also said.
Qureshi is absolutely right. I'll tell you. And even today, there are states where the discrepancy has not been much. For instance,
Yeah.
give me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In 2024 Lok Sabha poll in UP, for instance, it went to polls in several phases: one, two, three, four, five phases. For phase three, that was the first phase in UP. Phase three, the hike, the discrepancy was 0.2%.
Yeah.
The fourth phase, the discrepancy was 0.34%. In fifth phase, the discrepancy was 0.23%. In sixth phase, the discrepancy was 0.01%. In seventh phase, the discrepancy was only 0.25%, which means that it is much under 0.5%. And you know the result? From 67, the BJP has drastically fallen, the NDA has drastically fallen.
Okay.
And in contrast, I will give you the Haryana assembly elections.
Yeah.
In Haryana assembly elections, Venu, uh, in 10 districts, the vote hike, the discrepancy was more than 10%. And in those 10 districts, out of 44 seats, the BJP could win 37 seats.
Yeah.
Out of 44, look at the strike rate. And the remaining 10 districts, remaining 12 districts, the vote hike was discrepancy was much less, 2%, 3%, etc.
Yeah.
And out of the 46 seats in those districts, 12 districts, BJP could win only 11. So you tend to connect these things and
Yeah.
cast suspicion. Your suspicions are strengthened. Now, I want the election commission to come and clarify, so that I trust the election commission. I trust the process. I trust the house that is now sitting,
Mm.
the Lok Sabha, is elected, with absolute integrity. And the government which has come out of that house is of absolutely unimpeachable integrity. But today, I cannot say that this house which is sitting now, the present Lok Sabha, is of an unimpeachable credential, and
Okay.
the government which has been formed from that is of unimpeachable integrity. I can't say this.
Okay.
I want to say that I want to feel that my Lok Sabha is legitimate, the government is legitimate, provided somebody like you and come, and somebody from the election commission can come and say, look, this is the process, and it is absolutely with 100%.
Yeah.
Why can't say that?
Yeah.
Why can't they say that? And why
Yeah.
can't the government and the prime minister and the ruling party ask the election commission to clarify these things?
Absolutely. So finally, Parkala, we have to come to the conclusion that, as you just said, that the citizens at large must believe that the Lok Sabha that they've elected has unimpeachable integrity. Now,
Yeah, it
and
reflects
the,
their will.
huh?
It reflects their will.
Yeah, yeah, and the first step, I mean, I assume what our discussion has thrown up, the first big step that needs to be taken for this confidence of the people in our electoral process is a nationwide bipartisan cleanup of the voters list, not cleansing of the voters list, as you
Yeah,
pointed out. I think that's a good way to conclude.
yeah.
And
We have this expression called ethnic cleansing. Today,
yeah,
what is happening in Bihar, SIR, in the name of SIR, is political cleansing.
yeah. So cleanup, genuine cleanup, bipartisan cleanup, and not cleansing. I think we should end our discussion with this idea. Thank you very much, Parkala, for talking to us and joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venu. Thank you.